You guys, this information that I'm about to share with you just about blew my mind. No, it did blow my mind. If you're not sitting down, I recommend taking a half hour out of your day and just soaking this in, because if I wasn't convinced before that something really huge is going to happen in 2014, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it right now. So it all started with this lightning strike that occurred with the Christ Redeemer statue. You probably heard about this. Lightning struck the hand of the Christ the Redeemer statue in South America, I guess it is. And it occurred on January 16th, which was a Thursday. And that was in the middle of what could be thought of as the Gentile appointed time of unleavened bread. So talk about this in that video that I uploaded, January Convergence, if you want to know more about that. But more specifically, January 16th was exactly 1260 days from the true 70th Shavuot in 2017, right here. So in Daniel 9, we're told that everything in that prophecy will be fulfilled by the 70th Shabuah, from the going forth of the commandment to restore Jerusalem. So one of the definitions of that word Shabuah is Feast of Weeks, which is the Jewish holiday otherwise known as Shavuot. There's one per year. So it could be 70 years or 70 Shavuots. And in Matthew 24, it confirms what it says in Daniel 9, when Jesus says that everything he mentioned in Matthew 24 will be fulfilled within one generation from the budding of the fig tree. And we know the fig tree is Israel, from what Hosea 9:10 says. So the UN voted to send the Jews back to Jerusalem in November of 1947, but the going forth of that commandment didn't occur until May 14th of 1948, when the head of the World Zionist Association declared the establishment of the State of Israel. So the going forth of the commandment occurred on May 14th, 1948, and if 70 Shabuahs refer to 70 Shavuots, then the standard Jewish feast of Shavuot after that event occurred on June 13th and 14th of 1948. So right here, the next Shavuot right after that event, June 13th and 14th. So if we add 70 years to that, we end up with in 2018. But since the scripture indicates on one level at least that there will be, excuse me, that there will be 70 Shavuots, we need to also include the first Shavuot in 1948. So the 70th Shavuot would actually occur in 2017. But true Shavuot is a month after the standard Shavuot in 2017. So for more information on that, I have a video linked in the description box below this video. It's called Confirmation of the True Calendar. So true Shavuot in 2017 occurs on June 28th and 29th if you count from the new moon, or June 29th and 30th if you count from the first crescent of the new moon. So there's a 3-day window there. But we don't know for sure if Gabriel meant it would be 70 Shavuots, because the word Shabua used in Daniel 9 has 3 different meanings. It can mean 7, or a period of 7 days or years, or the Feast of Weeks, which is the Jewish Feast of Shavuot. So if Gabriel meant, and Gabriel is the one speaking to Daniel, in case you are wondering why I'm saying that, in Daniel 9, Gabriel is speaking to Daniel and telling him what's going to happen in the future. So if Gabriel meant that the prophetic events will be completed after 70 Shavuots, then the deadline for the escape would have been 1260 days prior to the 70th Shavuot window on June 28th through the 30th of 2017. So it'd be right here in January 15th through the 17th of 2014. In short, we know this because we're told the multitude will be in a safe place for 1260 days. That's in Revelation 12:6. But that's a very, very complex study as well. So I recommend that you watch the video Escape from the Serpent, and that's also linked below in the description box below this video. So the 3-day window, January 15th through the 17th of 2014, was exactly 1260 days from the 3-day window for the true 70th Shavuot in 2017. Right here. And this is something we've been talking about since June of 2013. As you can see right here in this video. But there's no way we could have predicted this lightning strike that occurred exactly in the middle of that 3-day window. Right there, exactly in the middle of that, on the full moon. Right in the middle of the Gentile Feast of Unleavened Bread. And we've been discussing that since January. This is the video January Convergence if you're interested in knowing more about that multitude Feast of Unleavened Bread. But here's the next bizarre twist in all of this. So I was shown a vision in April of 2012 of lightning coming off Jesus' hand. I said last night I saw Jesus hold up his hand and a bolt of lightning shot out from his palm. But then later that same year, I saw a vision of Jesus facing Mexico or South America, and he was standing in that exact shape of the Christ the Redeemer statue. So I'll just play a clip of this video right here, and I'll link these videos below in case you want to.
I want to start with this vision that I had several months ago that I meant to tell you guys about, but never did, and I feel bad because I can't remember the whole thing now. But it was a vision where he went and he stood at the southern border of the United States, and he was facing Mexico, and he stretched out his arms to the side, and his arms were straight, and his palms were facing Mexico, and his arms were like parallel to the ground. And then he kind of stood there for a while. I didn't know what that meant. And
so at the time that I had this vision, I had no idea what that was. I didn't know. I was not familiar with the Christ the Redeemer statue. But now it's clear to me that this is exactly what he was showing me. So if you want to check out, if you want to listen to the rest of that vision, I recommend it. I'll leave the link below in the description box, because in that vision where Jesus was standing just like this, facing Mexico and South America, I was shown a tsunami hitting that location, either Mexico or South America, and the tsunami came from the northeast. So there was this part of that vision that I was never able to confirm, and maybe somebody out there can confirm this. I saw what I thought was a sculpture of balloons or something like that. And I saw a homeless man laying underneath that sculpture, and he looked up to see a tsunami coming in from the northeast. Okay, so here's the other thing. At this point, as of February, it's obvious that Gabriel's meaning in Daniel 9:24 was not Shavuot. So what did he mean? There's only one other option. Let me explain. So as we talked about before, the word Shabuah used in Daniel 9 has three different meanings. It can mean 7, a period of 7 days or years, or Feast of Weeks, which is the Jewish feast of Shavuot. So notice the first meaning is a singular 7, and the second meaning is a multiple of 7. In mathematics, the difference between a singular and a multiple is addition versus multiplication. So this means our definitions are plus 7 times 7, or the Feast of Weeks, Shavuot. So this is expressed on this chart right here. The 70 Shavuots, or Feast of Weeks, end in 2017. The 70 plus 7 end in 2024, and the 70 times 7 end in 2437. But we know, and we've always known, that it can't be 2437 because 490 years is longer than a generation. And Matthew 24 tells us it won't be longer than a generation. One generation will not pass. But now we also know it's not going to end in 2017 because the escape has to occur at a minimum of 1260 days prior to the end. So this only leaves one other option. If Gabriel was referring to the 1948 Declaration of the State of Israel as the going forth of the commandment to restore Jerusalem, then 2024 is the only year that possibly can be the end of this timeline. So notice that 2024 is 7 years after 2017. So does this mean that Daniel's true 7 years will begin in 2017? Maybe. But there's still a possibility that we're in that 7-year period right now. because we've already talked about the fulfillment of Daniel 9:25 with the 7 plus 7 and 62 Shavuots that were fulfilled with Obama's birth and his first year of presidency. And we've talked extensively in other videos about how he won the Peace Prize after 62 Shavuots, precisely because he confirmed the United Nations Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. So that was the covenant right there. And we also have talked about how the steel beam that he signed was placed in the One World Trade Center in New York City exactly 1,290 days after he took the oath of office. That's Daniel 12:11. So these were precise fulfillments of Daniel 9:25 and Daniel 12:11. If you're unfamiliar with this, I'm begging you to please check the links in the description box below this video because it's explained in more detail. Specifically, you can watch the video called Proof the Abomination of Desolation Occurred on August 2nd, 2012. There are different meanings to those words, and I actually show you what those meanings are, and I do show that these events did happen exactly according to the way they were written in this book. We also know the 1335th day occurred on the standard Jewish Feast of Trumpets just a month later, and the extremely rare Revelation 12 sign occurred just a month after that on the true Feast of Trumpets 2012. And these events are so unbelievable and precise that I personally cannot believe that it is not being screamed all over the world right now. These are truly precise and unprecedented fulfillments of these ancient scriptures. And this is what it says will happen next. The people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the hallowed thing, and the end thereof shall be with a flood. Well, we knew in August of 2012 that the city and the hallowed thing he seems to be referring to is New York City and the One World Trade Center. That's because of the 1290th day fulfillment right here that occurred in perfect precision with the 7 and 62 Shavuots and the confirming of the international treaty that was proposed by what we now know is the UN beast. And if you're unfamiliar with that, I recommend watching the video The Dragon, the Beast, and the Harem that's linked in the description below if you haven't watched that already. So the 7-year period that Daniel 9 is referring to appears to be, at this point, 2009 through 2016. And the setting up of the idol of terror occurred in the midst of that, right here in New York City. The only thing that has not occurred yet in Gabriel's timeline is the destruction by a flood and the ceasing of the Passover and the tribute. Please verify these definitions. These absolutely are the definitions of these words in the concordances. The tribute, we now know, also refers to the One World Trade Center. So that makes sense. But the question is, what causes this flood right here? An asteroid that hits the Sea of Babylon is what causes the flood. I recommend watching the video linked in the description box below called Asteroid When and Where if you haven't already seen it, because this is highly complex. But the book of Revelation tells us that an asteroid strike is what causes the destruction of Babylon the Great and the seat of the beast, which we know is the headquarters of the United Nations in New York City. We now know New York City is the location mentioned in Daniel 9 that we are told will be destroyed by a flood. And I just want to point out one other thing. The ceasing of the Passover would be significant there because New York City has the highest population of Jews in the world, second only to Israel. So that would make sense as well. Now here's where it just gets undeniably, unbelievably profound. We're going to look at the flood story in the book of Genesis. We're told that Noah's father Lamech lived 595 years after he begat Noah, and he died at age 777. Then we're told that Noah was 600 years old when the flood came. We don't know whether Noah was at the beginning or the end of his 600th year, but if he was at the beginning of his 600th year when the flood came, that would be 4 years after Lamech died at age 777. But if Noah was at the end of his 600th year when the flood came, then that would be 5 years after Lamech died at age 777. However, if the word begat refers to the conception of Noah as opposed to the birth, then we would need to add 9 months for the pregnancy. Now check this out. On the Feast of Trumpets 2001, Rosh Hashanah, just after the Twin Tower tragedy, the stock market crashed. Right here. Then 7 years later, again on the Feast of Trumpets in 2008, right here, September 29th, the stock market crashed again, this time 777 points. If we plug this 777 point drop on the flood timeline, it looks like this. The Feast of Trumpets in 2001, drop. 7 years later, the Feast of Trumpets in 2008, 777 point drop. We also know Hurricane Sandy hit New York City in 2012. That's 4 years after the 777. And 5 years after the 777 would be the Feast of Trumpets in 2013. On September 4th through the 6th. But again, if begat refers to the conception of Noah, which is what this Twin Tower tragedy would represent on this timeline, if that's the conception as opposed to the birth, then we would need to add a 9-month pregnancy, specifically 280 days, because that's the average length of human gestation. 280 days or 40 weeks. 280 days from the Feast of Trumpets 2013 is June 11th through the 13th of 2014. And June 13th, 2014 is the 17th day of the true second month in 2014. And if you're not familiar with the story of Noah's flood, the 17th day of the second month is the day the windows of heaven were opened. It's the day of Noah's flood. I feel right now the way I felt in January and February of 2011. For those of you, and there's probably a very, very small number of you that were actually with me in January and February of 2011. For those of you that were, I want you to know I feel like that right now because this is so profound. For those of you that don't know what I'm talking about the Japan quake and tsunami prediction of March 2011. It's something I was warning about 2 months before it happened. There's been a lot that has happened in the last few years. I know I don't have all the answers. I don't know what's going to happen. I just want you guys to know that I feel that way. I feel like that right now. And if you understand what I'm saying, if you understand what this is, I'm sure you feel the same way. The things that were happening back then, all of the clues, all the inferences, all the visions, the dreams, everything, it was coming together in a way that it is coming together again this year. But there's more. There's more. I know that you are probably aware that in 2014 there are lunar eclipses on both Passover and Sukkot this year. April 15th, there is a lunar eclipse on standard Passover. And on October 8th, there is a lunar eclipse on standard Sukkot. But did you also know that the 2 solar eclipses this year land on the true first day of the first month, April 29th, right here, and the true first day of the 7th month, October 23rd, right here. If you're new to my channel, I am begging you to verify that this is the truth. Please, please watch the video that is linked below in the description box. It's called Confirmation of the True Calendar. This is the truth. The solar and lunar eclipses of 2014 are landing on both the standard Jewish calendar and the true biblical calendar. The lunar eclipses are occurring exactly on the first feast of the year and the last feast of the year. And the 2 solar eclipses are occurring on the first day of the first month on the true calendar and the first day of the 7th month on the true calendar. The seventh month mirrors the first month in its feast days in the biblical calendar. This is huge, you guys. I was blown away. I was blown away by this. And here's the final point. The biblical text, specifically Revelation, tells us that and Revelation, Matthew, and Daniel, and I explained this in my video, Asteroid, When and Where, but the biblical texts tell us that the asteroid will hit at the end of a 1260-day or year period. And 2014 is not only the midst of this 7-year period right here, but it is also the 1260th year from the start of the papal government of Rome. And if you have not seen the video, The Dragon, the Beast, and the Harem, please watch that video. It's linked below because it'll explain to you the significance of that 1260-year period. I also have a lot of this information in my ebook as well. So if you're interested in any of it, I recommend checking those links out below in the description box. And I hope that you guys are doing well. And I hope that even if there are things in here that you don't agree with, I hope that you will spend some time researching this on your own and seeking for answers on your own, because I'm feeling it right now. I'm feeling like this is huge. Something really huge is about to happen. Namely, asteroid. That's what I'm thinking. That's what it looks like to me. Hitting the Atlantic Ocean. So I hope you guys are doing well, and I'll talk to you later. Okay, bye-bye.